please join us. If you want to join us, all you have to do is Google 88.3 Southern FM and go to the program guide, go to A Conversation with Faye and press play. You can listen from anywhere around the globe. So join us and let's see where the conversation takes us. Now, in the studio I have Rosemary McCallum, Pina Cerminara,
Very good.
and Annie Kallis. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, Faye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, gee, is that all you do? Thanks.
All right.
Well, we are divas, right? Thanks, honey. Thank you, honey.
Oh, that's all right, darling. Now, Rosemary, I'm not going to introduce these ladies today. They're going to just tell us a little bit about who they are, and then we're going to start the conversation. So, Rosemary, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. For me, I am passionate about activating the exceptional in people or enhancing it if they've already done it. I'm a behavioural scientist and I'm a doctor of metaphysics, and I've blended those two powerful sciences. And being great is about having fun with life. It's not being serious. It's about let's have some fun, let's be curious, and let's see what presents itself.
Curious. That's my favourite word, curious. Thank you, Rosemary. Pina.
Oh, okay. So I've been in business for the last 5 years, working with people on a professional and a personal development journey. And my passion lies with helping people who have lost focus and direction and helping them with clarity. Currently working with people in training, helping them find their direction and their focus with work. So that's been very interesting and very exciting.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pina. Now,
you.
Annie, the third diva.
Well, I just crowned myself the dual love guide.
Whoa.
So what this is about relationships with yourself and then relationships with others. So I help people start to learn and love themselves in order to be able to love others. So the number one skill is to have a great relationship with yourself, and then you will be able to reconnect with others.
How true is that? Thank you, Annie. And each one of you create connection with ourselves in one way or another. You, Rosemary, with behavioural studies and metaphysics. You, Pina, in business and connecting people with themselves to learn about who they are and know and have the confidence to be able to pursue whatever they want to pursue in life and in business. And Annie, you are the diamond in the relationships where people connect and know that they need to connect and love themselves before they can connect and love others. So it's filling up your cup first, or our cups first, and then we have the energy and what it takes to help others fill their cups.
Yes.
And they can either look at their cup as being half full or half empty. Which is it for you, ladies? Is it half full or half empty?
Full.
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 Well, I can say that it's half empty, so there's plenty of room to put more stuff in, but it's half full.
Half full, yeah. Okay. Rosemary, I'm going to start with you first. What got you into doing the behavioural science and the metaphysics that you do now?
Probably my own mucked upness.
Your own mucked upness.
Yeah. I studied behavioural science because I just wanted to understand why I was the way I was. I came from a manic depressive background, suicidal thoughts most of the time. So I thought, well, I have to make me my education. So that's what I started to do with that. Intellectually, really well informed. Emotionally, something was missing. Something was still missing in that theory. You can understand why, but it doesn't change it. So that's when as growing up, I'd always loved reading about great minds. My father studied de Bono and all that sort of thing, so I read a lot of books, but Einstein was my favourite because I can relate to his strangeness. And,
That is magnificence.
oh yes, and strange. And I remembered him saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, on his deathbed, he has come to the conclusion there's only one great science, and that is metaphysics, and all other science emanates from it. So I went, meta whatever, but if it's good enough for him, I studied, and it profoundly changed my life because it taught me to understand how emotions, energy in motion, work, and how to choose emotions and to find meaning, to bring meaning to what I do rather than looking for meaning in what I do. So that revolutionized my world. Then I put it together with the two sciences to create the business I've got today.
Right. And so learning about who you are gives you then the ability to understand and be intuitive about when you meet somebody, seeing them for the first time. Your intuition gives you an insight into how they're feeling or what's going on.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, there's very few things people have experienced that I haven't. And also it's their language, it's everything, because I've been there.
Yes.
You know, so I have that empathetic point, understand how you feel. I felt like that. This is what I did.
And so therefore people will relate to you more because you've been there.
Absolutely.
You understand it, and so therefore they will take the trust in you to help them get to where they need to be in their life.
That's a huge trust because, you know, we're conditioned out of our feelings from a very early age, and yet the only way forward is to feel your way forward. It's not to think your way forward that got you there in the first place. And feel your way forward, and to become vulnerable threatens us in the need for certainty to feel that we're safe. So change is difficult for people, lasting change. But if you're courageous, you can do it.
And so you said lasting change. So when you say lasting change, it's like we develop habits or paradigms, and they can go back
They
decades,
never die. They
decades.
never die. Yeah.
But when you create that awareness around them, and you know that they're not serving you, you can start to change them. But it's that repetition over and over, constant repetition, to make sure that you do change whatever it is that's not serving you.
It's also to because I don't believe there's any bad emotions. Emotions just are talking to you.
Yeah.
It's also understanding the story that the emotion is trying to unfold. And once you understand the story and you get behind the story and go, well, I understand that. I didn't have the cognitive wherewithal to be able to work that out there. But it taught me so many strengths, and I'm grateful for it. And now I can move forward and realize that that was actually a gift in my life. And that's difficult for people to get to that point.
Very much. And everything that we experience in our life is a lesson. It teaches us something so that we can then, after the awareness is created, we can then develop the changes or do what is really necessary to take us forward and make those changes to create a better life for ourselves.
That's exactly right. And it's about choosing how you're going to feel. That's your ultimate power.
And feeling a lot of the time, and I've experienced this, you know, doing things and people say you've got to feel it. And you think, well, what am I supposed to feel? How am I supposed to feel? And you don't understand that until you do a considerable amount of work on yourself to bring that feeling to the surface, and to then understand that what you think about, what you feel, and the actions you take give you the results that you have or are getting.
Absolutely.
So that feeling for most people is a very difficult thing because they've blocked it, particularly if they've had a difficult upbringing, a difficult or a trauma in their life. They block it out. So they block that feeling out so that it doesn't come to the surface, and they can just continue to live and do what they do. avoiding what they need to deal with so that they can get that feeling back to move forward.
It'll hit them somewhere, because we know that 60 to 90% of all illness is psychosomatic. So therefore the emotions are working away in the background, and because you're not listening, the only way it can present itself is through illness. So better to do it before you get to that point. You know?
So instead of creating disease, you have that dis-ease, which then you create that awareness so that the disease doesn't set in.
Exactly right, you know, and it's such a powerful way. You've got to know what your intrinsic emotional needs are, and that's tricky.
How do you do that?
Well, it takes work. First of all, you've got to get to know you, and then you've got to look at, well, whose needs have I served as a child? Taking on roles as a child, which we do. That's why everything starts with us within a child work, and going back and finding those splits in the psyche where you lost a little piece of yourself and took on a mask and become a hero child or a carer or a surrogate parent or something like that, that has its own set of needs, but they're not your needs. So
No.
it takes some sorting to get to that point, and it's about chasing down what does it feel like if I had that. Feeling is everything.
Yes.
And you usually know it's an intrinsic emotional need when you go to tears.
Yep.
Bingo, you found it. You
Yeah.
know, so it's just a journey.
A journey.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's a pretty tough journey, isn't it?
It is a tough journey, but life's a tough journey.
Yeah.
You know, you might as well at least be steering the ship
Yeah.
instead of life steering you.
It's about taking control of who you are and not allowing those outside circumstances to control you. Being aware of those outside circumstances and the environment that's going on out there. And all those people that are judging you or saying, oh, don't do this. You know, those naysayers that say, oh, you can't do that if you say something. And you conform to them until such time you think, well, I'm living what other people want me to live and not doing what I want to do.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10 you're living their fears.
Yes,
So and you're compounding their fear, and misery loves company.
it does.
And you know, you take anyone who wants to give up something, all of a sudden, oh, you don't drink anymore, you're not doing that anymore. Why not?
Because I choose not
Yeah.
to.
And it's difficult for people to understand it, but you know, it's not as hard as it's made out to be, but it does require just the same as Annie will say, in any relationship requires work. Building a business requires work, as Pina will attest to. You know, that you just can't expect this is going to happen by osmosis, but in the end you run the good race.
Yes,
And life is exciting because you get to choose who you're going to be in circumstances rather than circumstances defining you.
absolutely. And that is a good point, but we'll come back in a moment.
I'm here.